time to get sexy. So watch Secular Sexuality Live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTSS and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callsex.
Greetings and salutations, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of The Nonprofits. This show is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the separation of religion and government and promoting positive atheism. And joining myself today, Cynthia McDonald, are a gaggle of heavenly hosts. Did you get that? Of course you did. Starting on my far left, because this is what I'm looking at right now, I would like to bring in and say hello to the lovely Nate Smith. Hey, Nate, how you doing?
Nate's back. All right. Thanks for having me back. Glad to be here.
I'm glad that you are here. We had a great time last time that we, did stuff on the thing. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to do it again, sister. You better believe it.
Damn right we are. Damn
A
right
lot
we
of
are.
hidden innuendo there.
Nah, it's not
Oh.
Thursday, Jena. It's not
Sorry.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Speaking
wrong
of
day.
Jena, I also want to introduce the beautiful Jena Miyu. Hello, Jena. How are you?
Hello, darling. It has been quite a while, darling.
I know. It's been a moment since we actually did a show together, so I'm so glad that we're here
yes.
together.
But a moment. Please, I have my tea prepared. I don't know why I'm doing this. I apologize, UK viewers.
You know what?
Just
UK
silly.
know that. UK, you already know how America rolls. It's all good.
America.
And last but not least, joining us from not across the pond, but kind of like, through the Gulf on the same side of the Atlantic Ocean, not quite by the Pacific,
Mm-hmm.
is the photogenic Alteo, or Mateo, or as I like to call him, the greatest guy, the most amazingest guy ever in life.
You're
Teo.
going to make me blush. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you so much. And thank you
Oh,
for having me here. They say third time is a charm. Let's see if it's true.
you know what? Guess what? You're always a charm.
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you.
Oh. Well, I guess that we should just get right into it, people, because we got a lot to talk about and a lot to cover. So, why don't we go ahead and get this thing started with some shit? One more time. Some shit internet apologists say.
Shit internet apologists say.
I know, I don't know if you all knew, but I was having a discussion with some of the people, the powers that be, that wanted to actually retire shit internet apologists say, but they keep saying shit. So unfortunately, we cannot retire shit internet apologists say. So let's talk about the shit. So here's the thing. There have been some folks, specifically some, batshit pastors and the people who love them, saying some stuff about COVID-19 vaccines and wearing masks. But I want to lead this whole thing off with an article specifically from Market Watch entitled White Evangelicals Resist COVID-19 Vaccines. And they're the most religious among the religious groups that are resistant to actually getting vaccines. So it's basically just talking about how this particular group is very resistant to getting vaccinated, wearing masks, believing COVID's a thing, this whole thing about the pandemic, or even coming up with some other things that, conspiracy theories rather, about, what this whole thing is about. Matter of fact, there's something that I want to highlight specifically in this article where it talks about this data that was released that some 24% of white evangelicals said in June that they wouldn't be vaccinated, down from 26% in March, according to a study that was actually released by the Public Religion Research Institution, which is a nonpartisan group that studies the intersection of religion and public life. And also talks about how evangelicals actually make up about 1/4 of the United States, and health officials say persuading them to get the shot is crucial to slow down the spread of the of COVID-19, let alone the Delta variant. But unfortunately, we have folks that have a very large platform that is like very much so against vaccines, masks, the whole nine, and they're taking it to extreme measures. Like one of our favorites, Pastor Rick Wiles, who who actually was infected with COVID-19. Matter of fact, his whole staff of I think it's called True News that he actually does. His whole staff came down with COVID-19 infection. And he was recently on a show, one of his shows, where he was talking to a panel of folk, where he blamed vaccinated people for possibly actually infecting him. And one of his panelists said that the vaccine itself was, get this, if you're ready,
I am not ready.
satanic
Born ready. Yep.
serum. I know you've been
Satan?
born to be born. Satanic serum. And
Wow.
and I'm going to stop right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and just let you all just chime in. I'm just going to go ahead and just daggle it out. Who want to jump on this one first?
I mean, if it's satanic serum, wouldn't he just be infected with Satan?
Well,
Oh.
could it be? Could it be?
I mean, it's possible.
I'd say,
I'm not ruling it out. I'm skeptical.
you know.
Guys, when I read this, my question is always the same. Why is it always evangelical people the ones leading the craziness in this type of stuff? I will talk a lot about conspiracies later. I shouldn't say craziness. I would say all these crazy conspiracy theories, because they always are trying to find the number of the beast. It used to be, I don't know, the tax, the price on stuff, all of that, your ID number, etc., etc., etc. And I'm really sorry that Johnny, I hope you're listening, because he really likes when I talk about Bolsonaro, certain South American dictator from Brazil. That guy is an right-wing extremist, religious, evangelical guy. He used to be Catholic, but he became evangelical to get more votes, apparently. And yeah, he has been fighting against vaccines. He said that vaccines are going to mutate your DNA and turn you into a crocodile or stuff like that. Thanks to him, 4,000 deaths that could have been prevented had happened in Brazil. And I think this was last year only. So I don't know how situations are going right now. But let me tell you, in Brazil, Delta is out of control. Thanks to Bolsonaro and all these ideas. And before I let you continue with this, I have mentioned this before, and I want to mention it now. This is all because evangelical pastors need people to be afraid of science, because we know that most things of the Bible are going to be disproven by science, so they need to believe that science is a huge conspiracy against them, and that is one of the main reasons why they usually go with this, oh no, all big pharma is a thing, and all doctors know how to cure cancer, but they keep it a secret to sell more medicine, etc., etc., etc.
Well, half truths go a long way. I mean, big pharma is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that these evangelicals voted for Donald Trump by a margin of something like 80%, right?
Yeah.
So these are already people who are more likely to vote for the guy with the loudest voice and the most amount of sentence fragments spoken with the most enthusiasm. It's not like, it's not like they're basing their epistemology on evidence. They're basing it on, who comes across like they got the biggest dick. It's not based on good reasoning.
But it's baffling in that same vein because both Trump, McConnell, most of all the hosts on Fox News, they've all been vaccinated. All of them have.
Of course they have.
They've all, even publicly on news channels on live, have stated that they've been vaccinated, and some have said they feel good that they are. Even with the most recent, COVID scare to our dear Lindsey Graham. Oh,
we're going to get to Lindsey. We're going to get to Lindsey.
I won't go too far in the weeds, but I guess he got COVID. But he was vaccinated. He did say he feels okay now just because, you had that vaccine. So It's baffling that, as much as the average citizen denies wanting to be vaccinated and just poses it as a governmental conspiracy host is crazy. I won't say crazy. It's beyond understanding. But you also have to put into place and understand that these same individuals that have been vaccinated, per view Fox News hosts, have demonstrated themselves as talking everything down. Like, it's okay. Don't wear a mask. Forget mandates. The government's a lie, or whatever they want to say.
Whatever they say.
Yeah.
Speaking of masks, so another person that actually jumped into the whole fray of batshit stuff is Pastor Greg Locke. If you guys are familiar with him, so
sadly now I am.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, Cynthia. Thanks a lot.
So sorry. Yeah, we'll be talking more about him, but he was also recently, and this is going to be in the show notes below. You all can get a chance to read this particular article from the Friendly Atheist about him recently going on this whole rampage where he was screaming and hollering at his parishioners about banning people from coming into the church if they were wearing masks. So I was watching actually a clip of the video because I believe that one of the sources actually had the clip of the video of him screaming and hollering, and then said, "God dang it, amen. I'm the only pastor that's going to say, God dang it, amen." So I guess that makes him edgy. And after his rampage, he made this claim concerning that he's been right all along concerning the pandemic, the voting fraud, and whatever fantasies that he can cook up. But he's really not correct at all. And and especially like when we get into the numbers, especially about people who contracted this disease, also got the Delta variant, and has actually experienced the adverse effects from it because of not being vaccinated, not wearing masks, not taking seriously the guidelines that have come out to keep you safe. And it's quite baffling to me. So I'm going to stop right there and let you all say more things.
Oh, please go ahead, Mateo.
Go, Jena. Don't worry.
I appreciate it, kind sir, good sir. It is baffling, and I agree with you, and I'm sure most of us, even those that are watching and listening, do too. That it's the idea that there is such a interesting intersection with belief and the denial of science, vaccinations, health, public health in general, puts a heavy detriment on just revitalizing the public health community and trying to be as strong of activists as possible to ensure the safety of citizens, just period. It furthers the point of, what faith does to a person's understanding of reality. Not to say that they are just in this world of imagination, but to say that faith has fogged their understanding of reality to a point that they are not only putting themselves at risk, but the safety of others, and just downright not caring, which is interesting considering the evangelical Christian teaching of caring for thy neighbor and blah, blah, blah. So
teaching, not practice.
Of course. Yes. There's such a difference.
That part.
Difference.
Mm-hmm.
That
yes.
part.
And that, that whole old parent saying, do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
But Really, it shouldn't be that case. And so, leaning on faith and knowing that, God's got you. This is something that is not as bad as the flu or whatever type of rhetoric they want to put. And obviously offending those that choose to want to protect themselves, whether they have been vaccinated yet or not.
Yeah, matter of fact, I had got into this whole discourse on social media with the evangelical person who
Ooh.
oh yeah, it was intense, people. It was right in the midst of actually, picking out some of these topics for today. And it all started with one other person actually stating that people who are not vaccinated are scared of the people who are vaccinated because vaccines are shedding COVID-19 virus. And I was like, no, no, that's exactly how this vaccine does not work.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
sheds nothing. There is no live virus in any of the vaccines that have been approved for emergency use by the FDA. It actually, so there is nothing to shed. Okay. And also, too, when you get the vaccine, it's in your body. It does not come off of out of your body. It actually, what it does, it just teaches your body, specifically the messenger RNA vaccines, which is Pfizer and also Moderna, how to build up proteins and antibodies to fight the COVID-19 virus if your body comes and encounters it. So
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
that's definitely, like, a lot of misconstruction. I just made that word up, but it's okay. When it comes to when it comes to like any portion of like how any of these vaccines work, or even like some of the other things that you should do to keep yourself safe. Matter of fact, what really kind of like made me just go, wait, what did you just say? Is when the person I was in a discourse with told me that children wearing mask is, what did they say? Children wearing masks is child abuse.
Oh,
It
come
Oh,
is
on.
Lord.
yes, yes. And and I said to them, it is very difficult to do this, but you just did. You just made me speechless.
I,
Wow.
yeah, what can you say about that? Uh, it's awful. It's everything is awful about this, and I have to say, this is. I shall summon the harms of religion for this one, because this is one of the biggest harms of religion. They made people believe r- ludicrous stuff, and for me, the leading guys who are talking about this, be it Trump, be it Bolsonaro, those pastors, for me, those people are profiting from murdering people, because
Mm.
they are telling naive people who will believe them for some reason, hey, don't do this, this everybody's against you. Uh, Things are going so insane that in Missouri, right in the Bible Belt, people who want to get the vaccine, they have to hide from their friends and relatives, because if not, they are going to be shamed or uh, rejected, because people are that, should I call it brainwashed? I don't know, but
Brain wet,
Brain
brainwash.
wet.
It
They
works.
brain is wet from being washed. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
you,
Could be.
let's call it
you
that. It's, yeah, getting
but
kind of.
it's kind of funny though, because like in the one of the last articles, I believe that was in Christian Today, they actually talked about how there were like faith-based organizations that actually worked in conjunction with other healthcare providers, clinics, hospitals, to help get parishioners and people in the community vaccinated. Even like when I was doing the immunization relays with the clinic that I work for, we partnered with a few churches. And specifically and largely Latinx communities, and also predominantly African American communities, because those are the communities specifically in our city that was getting hit the most when it came to infections and also mortality rates. So we wanted to make sure that, let's make sure let's be mindful to set up shop in churches, which we did. We set up shop in other community centers and also in our clinics that were located in these areas to make sure these people are vaccinated. So, and actually, it really helped bring a large amount of people who were a part of these communities to get vaccinated. Matter of fact, and even they've talked about with African Americans, credited the robust campaigns that were targeted towards their neighborhoods to actually like launch these vaccination clinics specifically in churches so that they can get their people, protected.
Mm-hmm.
However, but this hesitancy, specifically in white evangelicals, is really trippy. Because like because like one side you see evangelical people who may not necessarily be considered white evangelical be more so accepting of, yes, let's
Right.
get the vaccine because I want to go back to church, I want to go back to my life, etc., etc. But on this side, you got just the opposite, and it's so mind warping to me.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nate.
Well, that's the thing though, is when your entire epistemology is based on, who's got the loudest voice, right?
Mm.
If you can believe in a talking snake, it's not hard to believe in shedding vaccines, right? See what I did there?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah,
totally
that's
right.
tough.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
That's
and
creative.
this pastor, like, he's going off, and I don't think I've ever heard a sermon, if you can call it that, where this guy literally breaks 4 of the 10 commandments, right?
Mm.
He's dishonored his father and mother, right? He's putting elderly people at risk. He's bearing false witness, right? Like, oh my
Do
god,
as I say, not as I do, Nate.
Yes.
it absolutely baffles me. And like, it's not even like this has nothing to do with God. This has nothing to do with the Bible. Like, this is just him ranting, and it's whoever can come up with the loudest sentence fragments and
Mm-hmm.
the most convincing bit of rhetoric wins the day, right? Like, he's up there, he's like, "Don't wear masks. Get 2 quarts of Dr. Darrell Ray's anti-COVID paste today.
Yeah.
You too can be
Yeah.
a winner, folks." And they're lapping it up like dogs. I can't believe it.
Like, yes, Pastor, yes, I
Yeah.
will.
Exactly. And allow me to expand a little bit on that, Nate, and kind of bridge what Cynthia was just previously saying, because it now that we're all having this discussion about white evangelicals, and Cynthia, you noticing on the opposite end, even if the Black evangelicals, Latinx evangelicals, they express or display themselves differently, are more open and willing to get the vaccine. I'm wondering, and I want to kind of pose this kind of thought process with you all. As far as, obviously, when we witness these type of reports, it often is from white evangelical pastors. Consistently so. You can reflect back on all of our videos. We're talking about this since COVID happened, folks.
Mm.
But it's interesting that it is interesting, and it's not, in the sense that it's only been white evangelical leaders. And I'm wondering, from a political, patriarchal hierarchy standpoint, if you follow me,
Follow.
that
I'm with you.
given that it is the white, non-Black, non-Asian, non-Latinx individuals, male individuals, that are professing these, "Oh, you can't tell me what to do," or, "Oh, you can't force me to do such thing. You are impeding on my rights and putting me down." And the overarching feeling nowadays that, the white man is feeling more and more oppressed and being told what to do. So it could definitely draw something interesting away from it actually being, faith preaching and Bible teaching, because that's not what's going on. What's going on is that they're feeling like they're being told what to do. And then they want to proclaim my body, my rights. I think I kind of joked a little bit with Nate in regards to kind of like the same kind of topic, but utilizing that same type of language that other social issue groups utilize when they are trying to, fight for their rights. So.
Yeah, that's often the conflation that happens, specifically with this group, when they're talking about not wearing masks, not getting vaccinated. I choose my body, my right, body autonomy, and et
Mm-hmm.
cetera, et cetera. But it don't work like that. And the main reason being is because when you choose not to wear a mask, when you choose not to get vaccinated, when you choose not to do these things, you put other people in danger. And that's unfortunately what is not sinking in this group, especially with like this hierarchy, this patriarchy, this all the whole thing that comes with it. There and I for promise you, if Greg Locke thought about this because he said he was right all along, it will be a whole nother you dig. So as we so as we wrap this whole shindig up, let's get some final thoughts. I'm going to start with you, Nate.
The axiom of my right to swing my fist ends at your nose is lost on these people because they have been able to punch down for centuries, and now they're finally getting stopped, and they are fucking pissed about it.
Well,
Yeah.
well, what you say
like
now,
it.
Jena?
Just more and more of what I just said. I can go on ins and outs about this, especially from a medical standpoint as the resident ACS Community of Austin nurse. Thank you. It baffles me. And I'm not too, far from removed that, common regular people that don't have that medical knowledge or medical understanding or haven't been learned in the medical field at all would have, overextended restraints or hesitancy when getting the vaccine or the idea of COVID-2. But when you see it from actual medical professionals doing so and pushing that anti-vax rhetoric, that's where I cringe, and that's where I'm just like, I itch because I'm just like, why are you in this profession? And I'll leave it at that.
Ditto. And Teo,
Exactly.
what you got, honey?
Yeah, well, according to everything that you said, the thing about oh, come on, I don't want to lose this idea because I really wanted to talk really quickly about it. And I lost it. Okay, whatever. So I'm going to go with my final. Oh yeah, no, I remember.
There it is.
They want to be the victims. They, as you said, they have been high up so far that now that people are demanding things from them, they want to be the victims in this. They want to feel the victims. It's like, no, I don't want to get the vaccine because my body, my choice, and now I'm being rejected by people. I'm being discriminated because I'm choosing for my own whatever. So yeah, they always play the I am the victim card. And you know what? That's part of the Bible. If you are going to be persecuted, it's because you're Christian, blah, blah. When you're not being persecuted, you are being asked to be a decent human being. And yeah, I want to wrap this up with two issues that I think are the main problem. One of them, I already said, harms of religions. People are thought to distrust science, so of course they are not going to trust it. But I found an interesting comment on Twitter. I'm going to quote it because I would like to finish with this general idea. Sorry, United States, this is a critic to your system. Someone said, hard to imagine we would see this level of vaccine hesitance if we had a medical system where people could regularly see and talk to a doctor they trusted for free, instead of a situation where, in order to avoid going broke, people seek medical advice on the internet. So I think
you stole my line, Teo. You stole my line. I love it.
Education is a big problem, and this as well.
Yes, and that is, yeah, I agree. Whatever, and stop and going to the internet and talking and listening to folk on TikTok is not research. So before we go, actually into segment 2, I got stuff to say. Okay, all right. So one thing I want to say is if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this channel and click on the like button below and set the notification bell on so you are always notified when a new episode premieres every Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Time. And we are now, last time I checked, we are now at 8.75 thousand subscribers. Everyone say yay.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Well, we need 10,000 people. We need 10,000 because if we get 10,000 subscribers, we can start doing fundraisers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you can help us get there by doing so now. Like right now. Like right now. Because we are now at 8.79 thousand. Okay.
Ooh,
Wow.
At the time of this
that's
recording.
awesome.
Our
Right, that's
congregation is
awesome.
growing. It's
Yes,
growing.
our congregation, our parishioners, our gatherers are growing, but we need more folk. So share the link to our channel with your friends, with your family members, with your co-workers, that neighbor guy you don't like, batshit pastors, so that they can get an education, and anyone and everyone else. Let's get the word out there. Yeah, let's get the word out there, people, so we can
Amen,
start
sister.
helping those fundraisers. And yes. So let's go ahead and get into our next you dig. And we are talking about breakthrough infections, y'all. So we're still on this theme because Delta ain't gonna help you. And I believe that Mateo, you gonna go ahead and get us started.
I have so many things to say about this, but I promise I will try to be as brief as possible. In here, we have 4 very interesting links. The first one is the source is the American Hospital Association. Please check the link in the description. And in here, we have that 74 infected in Massachusetts with COVID-19. They were people who were actually vaccinated. And I want to link this to the next one, but really quickly about this. Remember, people, the vaccine is not going to make you immune. As we already said, this is only going to teach your body how to defend itself against the vaccine. But look at the second...
The virus.
Oh, sorry, about the virus. Shame on me. As I said, about it helps your body to defend against the virus.
Right.
And this is going to link right away with the second link, link in the description. This is about CNN. Thank you so much. I will have to say something about CNN later. About 99.999% of fully vaccinated Americans have not had a deadly COVID breakthrough case. So yes, people, even though if you have the vaccine, you can get sick, you are not going to die. So guess who are the ones dying now? Because our third link is about US COVID deaths are rising again. Experts call it a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Unvaccinated, can you guess who are the ones dying right now because of COVID? No? I'm going to give you a clue. Unvaccinated people. So again, check the sources. NPR. Yeah, it's shocking. I know, right, Jena?
So shocked.
And this was interesting. This is about a senator in the USA. Once again, link in the description. This is from The Hill. And this is Graham, a guy who tested for positive for the coronavirus. And he's the first one, I think, of the senators who get the coronavirus. I don't remember if it was Delta or not, so I'm really sorry about that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And all of this is related directly to what we are talking, how damaging all these conspiracies about the vaccine are. And people, right now, we're in the middle of the next big issue, the Delta, the Delta variant. That's why it's called Delta. Delta ain't gonna help you. And
right.
yeah, and as I said, I have to mention CNN because it's not the only one. But whenever I watch the news or I read the news on the internet, the first 100 comments are people laughing, saying that CNN is part of the machine. You know, Trump idea of fake news, and this is just a thing to control you because for some reason they believe that not opening the malls is going to, I don't know, give power to the man, something like that. And it's full of people. The internet is full of people who have been educating themselves with, I know this is going to be ironic, but YouTube. Yes, they are using that as their main source. And sorry, people, unless they have reliable sources, as we do on the description, please don't trust anyone saying stupid stuff on the internet. It's awful, it's terrible, and it's harmful.
It's
shit.
It's foul shit.
Yeah, it's shit. It's shit.
It's totally. There is a video that I would... You're totally right. There is a video that I would love people to watch. It's going to be in the description. It's about Travis Campbell. He's a 43 years old anti-vaxxer who now is fighting for his life. And would you know it? Now he's not anti-vaxxer anymore, now that he realizes, hey, the virus is real. And I said I have way too much to talk about because I've had very close people to me, well, some relatives who died, they are close, of course, and some closer relatives who have been about to die because they have believed evangelical pastors saying, no, this is the mark of the beast, this is a conspiracy, this is not real. And I'm going to let you speak now because I really have way too much to say, and then I want to tackle about the misinformation and the guys responsible for it. But I want to know about what you think of these guys.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in because I really wanted to kind of go back to the first article that we prefaced about, which was a study by the Center for Disease Control about 74% infected in Massachusetts COVID-19 outbreak were vaccinated. So basically, in this particular article, the study talked about how I want to say it was at some type of festival that a lot of people attended, specifically in an area of Massachusetts. It actually was a large. It was like due to like summer events and large public gatherings, specifically in
Mm-hmm.
Barnstable County, Massachusetts, and where people were fully vaccinated. But there was a large amount of them that actually contracted COVID-19 through with the breakthrough infections. Now, it was interesting with this particular study, what they found that even though, and this was like a total study between like less than 500 people. Okay, so let's preface that first. And then what they also discovered in this particular, specifically 469 cases. And, among the vaccinated in Massachusetts, they said that, I want to go back here. It says that while DPH has identified cases in the cluster associated with vaccinated individuals, the total number of cases among vaccinated people in Massachusetts remains extremely low. And what they're talking about is the actual breakthrough infections of people who are fully vaccinated that actually contract COVID-19. And they said so it's about less than 1% or about 5,166 cases out of over 4.3 million vaccinated residents. And
Hmm.
even in this particular study, it mentioned that 6 people out of the study were hospitalized. 4 of them were fully vaccinated. No one died. Okay. And when I first saw this article, because I saw somebody actually share it on Instagram, and they only had that caption, right? The headline and the byline. That's it. And I'm like, well, what does the article say? What's the meat and the potatoes of the study? And then when you find out, like, okay, we're talking about less than 500 people. Okay, so we got a very small sample size when it
Very
comes
small.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, very, very small sample size when we're talking about fully vaccinated people. Oh yes, of course if you're especially like picking out these cases, yes, you're going to see a majority of them, that's possibly, infected, breakthrough infection, et cetera, et cetera. But when you compare it to the population of the people who are fully vaccinated that actually got, COVID, like a breakthrough COVID, it's very, very small. So, and they were actually what the whole caption was trying to say that the vaccines don't work because of this. And
Yeah.
Shocking.
Even though it cuts your risk of dying in half. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that
yeah,
totally
yeah.
doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, it totally doesn't work. So yeah.
No. The idea, I mean, like you were prefacing, the sample size of this research is not enough to make a true hard case as far as the rest of the U.S. population is concerned,
Right.
given that it's
No.
a county or a city in Massachusetts. So you can't make a hard determination of, oh, that's just proof that the vaccine doesn't work. But aside from that, there is more proof in regard to the current level of people in the U.S. alone being hospitalized due to this new, upbringing or upsurge, I should say, of the Delta variant, that they're finding that a lot of them are being more people are being hospitalized that were unvaccinated versus those that have been vaccinated.
Right.
And of course, recovery has been deemed in these cases a lot better. And so we already know the percentage of efficacy in regards to Pfizer and Moderna, how effective, prior to the Delta variant coming out, how effective it had been in securing, the safety or you coming out of potentially being infected with COVID versus now with even the Delta variant, there's still above 50% efficacy with Pfizer and Moderna in regards to protection. So even when you look at the flu shot, because influenza season is coming, I know because I'm a coordinator, that with that, the average covalent influenza vaccine is not but between 60 to 65% efficacy. And you see a lot more from that with these messenger mRNA vaccines. And still, we continue to state this is not a cure. You are not fully immune. This is just added protection for your body to fight off worsening symptoms and or death. That's it.
We've been kind of spoiled by our success with vaccines in the past,
Oh, sure. Polio.
This whole thing
is
just a microcosm of the right-wing hypocrisy when it comes to social justice issues, right? Like it's like I'm gonna oppose a living wage because I'm employing an illegal immigrant that cleans my house or trims my yard, and I'm going to oppose LGBTQ rights until my son comes out to me as gay, and I'm gonna oppose the vaccine until Mr. Lindsey Graham got himself the COVID, and now he says, well, now I think it's a good idea. So, kiss my grits. Y'all should all go and get stuck. My constituents are going to vote for me again because I had told you from the very beginning that this was a good idea. And don't you go showing me clips of me saying the opposite thing, because I'm just going to come up with some other bullshit that's going to tell you otherwise.
You just made me remember Trump when you would show his followers all the lies that he has said, and no, he never said that. He meant something else.
Yeah, they're all so good at that. That's what they excel at. And even with like the this is off topic, but with like the confirming of Supreme Court justices, and they're like, strike me down in 4 years if I say that we should confirm a Supreme Court justice in an election year. And then, a few years later, it's doing the exact same thing. It's like, oh no, well, that was a completely different context because that was
because we had a black man in office.
Right? No, he was a
black man, so we can't let him vote.
He was a lame duck. He was a lame duck. Okay,
I'm sorry.
So he could not run again. So therefore, we could not confirm more justices according to Lindsey Graham and Mitch Turkey Neck McConnell. So
it wasn't race.
No, it wasn't. Oh, it had nothing to do with race. Nothing at all.
No. Sorry. I don't know why I gotta pull that card every time.
That was Mitch, not Lindsey, but the accent still holds.
Yes. He's in Kentucky. He's in Kentucky, so it's totally okay. Yeah. No.
That's a little bit of a different accent, but I think I can try it.
You know what, Nate?
I'm sorry, Jena. Jena's she's full cringe. I'm sorry.
Know what?
I won't do it anymore.
Can I just say now I want a bowl of grits? But anyway.
With the hot sauce.
I'm sorry, folks.
And grits should not have sugar in it. Okay, so
my last accent tonight, I promise. The last one.
Oh my gosh. Go ahead, Nate.
That's my
last
accent.
One. Oh, okay, gotcha.
I would like to point out, I do want to say that like the numbers of vaccinated people that are getting sick are strikingly similar up here in Canada, although they're slightly lower. They're about 90%. So I'm kind of wondering, like, is that gap just because we as Canadians were a little less resistant and we had a mass inoculation campaign? We went from about 10% vaccinated in March, and now we were leading the world. I don't know if we still are, but we're at about 73% of the population has
You're
been
up there,
vaccinated.
certainly.
Yeah, we're way up there. And because the efficacy of the vaccine does drop over time, I wonder if maybe some of these people who originally got stuck and were just like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Go ahead, stick me, doc, are now possibly more susceptible to getting it. Although, again, to point this out, less likely to die from it. And that's the takeaway, folks.
Right.
You might
Yeah.
still get it, but you probably won't die.
Right. Matter of fact, like there was a in the CNN article, I'm going to just point this particular portion out. They reported about 6,587 COVID-19 breakthrough cases as of July of 26 of this year, including 6,239 hospitalizations and 1,263 deaths. At that time, more than 163 million people in the United States were fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, if you divide those severe breakthrough cases by the total fully vaccinated population, for the result, less than 0.004% of fully vaccinated people had a breakthrough case that led to hospitalization, and less than 0.001% of fully vaccinated people died from a breakthrough COVID case.
It's a tiny number.
Yes. So again, that does not mean the vaccines don't work. That means they actually do work. And curse you, Nate, and your damn single payer healthcare. Anywho,
hey, don't hate us because you ain't us.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Y'all can come up.
Okay,
you can come up. You can visit. I've
No,
already
can't.
extended you a visit, and you said that you'd have to actually pay to move, and I'm like, well, hey, I mean, you could get sick and have to stay in a hospital for a week, and then you'd have already broke even.
Fair.
That sounds fair.
You got us there.
Okay, guys. I want to say that I realized that my notes were wrong, and I said 74% of people when I should have said 74 infected people. So shame on me. Sorry about that. And you have been talking about how vaccines do work, and I need to get attention to this because yes, people, vaccines work. People telling you that they don't, they are liars. It was interesting looking for information about this because I got to learn about the Center of Countering Digital Hate. It's very interesting that that they do have a list of the 12, I think they call them super spread of misinformation spreaders. That's how they are called. And number one is Dr. Joseph Mercola, a guy who is going to run away from journalists who want to ask him why he's supposed to be a doctor talking, saying lies about the vaccine, like, no, the vaccine is going to change your DNA and you're going to be spreading the disease and all of that. And he had his own channel, and can you believe that he was profiting from it? I'm pretty sure that he's very sad now that he has to erase everything because there have been investigations about it. But I think that the biggest harm that this guy is going to make is that now the evangelical pastors we were talking about are going to say, yes, look at this doctor, he's telling the truth and he's the one saying that vaccines don't work and he's being censored. And yeah, the 12 misinformation spreader, they are 12 guys who are spreading misinformation about the 60% of everything that people read and say about the vaccines. So they are a real danger. And once again, these people are profiting from murdering others. And I want to get your attention onto that because I think we should do something against these type of people. Something like maybe educating people about how vaccines work and what they do. I think we're doing that quite right now.
This is why shows like this exist, right? This is why, we gather and we, do our due diligence to try to be as informed as possible. Like, of course, like we're not going to have the end all of all knowledge when it comes to everything because we're not Google, but we can definitely make sure that we are doing our due diligence to have proper, correct information when it comes to topics like this, because it's so important to make sure that you are, educating yourself, asking questions, using Socratic method, critical thinking skills, using your skepticism, epistemology, etc., etc. So, and this is and this is one of the reasons why I even told Puck in a previous episode why I won't get on TikTok, and I think that we all prefaced it because like you got 1 minute and for people to say something dumb, and then we need 10 minutes to explain why what you just said was dumb and wrong, right? And
Defeated. Yeah, exactly.
Terrible.
Yeah,
But we have to
it's
educate to save
easier.
lives.
It's easier to destroy than it is to create, for
true,
sure.
true that, true that, true that,
Really sad.
yeah, it is kind of sad, but but at least I would say that even though we had clutch my pearls, Senator Graham, say some dumb things in the past, that he is actually speaking up and saying that even though he did get infected with a breakthrough case, that he's glad that he got the vaccine because if he did not, his symptoms could have been a lot worse.
Yes.
And I
Please.
think this is also even important to note that with these breakthrough cases, the majority of breakthrough cases are happening in people that are 65 and older, and that is a very vulnerable demographic of people. Of course, like when you get older, your immune system is not as like robust as it used to be. So, and then also older people have a tendency to have comorbidities. And we also have heard from different experts that people who possess comorbidities are more susceptible to infections, including having a very hard time when they're infected with this virus specifically. So that's why it's so important to, if there is like a vaccine that has been proven to work and has um, proper empirical data to back up that it works, and you can actually look up what's in it, it's not hidden. I asked somebody asked me like, what's in it? I said, it's on the web. You know how you look up everything else on the internet?
Yeah.
Guess what? What's in the vaccines is on the internet.
Look
So
it up.
Yeah.
it's not hidden, you know what I'm saying? So, long story short, if you don't have like some type of medical condition that will keep you from getting vaccinated, just get the goddamn vaccine. Quit playing.
Just do it.
There is
So
no
Get the
cheap on
stick.
it. Come on,
yeah.
people.
So let's also, if we just want to wrap this particular segment up, let's get some final thoughts. Tayo, I'm gonna start with you first.
I would love to talk about how this idea that people distrust science, one of the reasons is, as Nate said, vaccines are too reliable, so people don't actually understand what is to get sick without a vaccine. Also, people saw this science on action, working right on the time. So, of course, in the beginning, there were some misunderstandings. Once again, in the beginning, there were some misunderstandings about what the virus was, how it was working, how it was doing. So when people update information, which is what science does, and the reason why I think it's so awesome, people will start saying, oh no, these scientists have no idea what they are talking, they lie, and then they change their opinion. No, people, this is the reason how we know that science works, because they test everything, they check everything, and they improve the information.
We're allowed to be wrong. Yeah.
We are allowed to be wrong, and science debunks science all the time.
Right. And
Yes.
and my quick final word is that I am happy that most areas are mandating, most organizations, I should say, health organizations are mandating that their employees are being vaccinated or subject to regular COVID testing. And I will say, as of today, the state of California is the first state to require teachers and staff to be vaccinated or show proof. And if you have not been vaccinated, then you are subject to regular testing. So
And
there
that's
you
not
go.
discrimination.
Boom. My
Bam.
organization as well. So now, before we get into other stuff,
I get my
if you-
moment. I have to get my out moment.
Okay, go ahead, Nick. Get your album moment, honey. Get your album
Canadian
moment.
Lindsay,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Canadian, yes.
And I'm gonna have a Teo moment because this is a thing that I noticed in all these articles that I only saw one time. I'm sorry, Teo, I love you. I only saw one time that social media was mentioned as a possible aggravating factor in this vaccine resistance. And like, I've got a pretty small I've got a pretty small friends list on Facebook, and mostly it's either people I know, people in my family, or people I've met through the ACA that are in the atheist movement. And still, I've seen so much ridiculous anti-vax bullshit on my Facebook. I've unfriended maybe 10 people for posting ridiculous nonsense. I'm just curious, do you guys have a count? Have you unfriended anyone? And if so, how many?
I have, but I don't even know how many. It's oftentimes like I just start unfriending people because I don't feel like arguing.
My
That's
Trumpster contacts who didn't believe in vaccines have died, so sad for them. Sorry, guys.
Damn.
Yeah,
Damn. Savage as
It's like,
fuck.
oh, why don't
hardcore.
I have any contact with the COVID? And then they die of COVID. People are going to their funerals and all of that, and they get sick as well.
Teo. Okay, moving on. Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to be moving on to that. So guess what, y'all? If you don't necessarily watch us on the regular, here is what you missed last week.
Which I didn't actually mention this to you earlier, Puck, but this is kind of interesting because they are monogamous until the opportunity strikes to not be monogamous.
If this is really what people want to see, and if this is what people really engage with, why am I trying to be all prim and proper? Drink my mug of orange soda with my pinky up, right?
It's basically bikini bottoms. I'm not going to go in full details with the measurement. Basically, it's booty shorts with, your cheeks out.
John is making a crazy face there with that ukulele. I am worried about his well-being, but I'm sure he's fine.
For the 19th time in a row, yes, I know that I'm leading people away from God. I've been doing it for a long time. I love leading people away from a God that nobody has demonstrated exists.
That's right, goddammit.
Damn, that highlight reel.
That's right.
Love it.
Well, you know what? If you all didn't know, the ACA actually has a new YouTube channel. So check out the Atheist Experience, a one-stop shop for all ACA shows in podcast form in one channel. So subscribe at tiny.cc/AEN podcasts to listen to episodes of The Nonprofits, The Atheist Experience, Truth Wanted, and all of our other ACA shows. So don't you miss a single episode. And also, please join our fan social media outlets. You can find most of the nonprofit hosts on the Atheist Community of Discord by going to tiny.cc/ACA Discord and on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/nonprofits live. All right. So, and now for something completely different. I believe, Jena, you are going to help us or lead us into this one.
And I would like to preface this by saying racism is real, full stop. That's it. I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. I'll fill in a little more if I need to. But I bring in or introduce this topic in regards to, an interesting lead-in from a very familiar American pastor by the name of David Platt. He is a best-selling author and formerly a president of the Southern Baptist Convention's International Mission Board. And actually, now that I reflect on that name, I actually have 2 pastors in my history, 3, if I recall, that are on that same board. So that's fun. And he is currently the pastor of the McLean Bible Church. This is just a huge influential church located in Washington, D.C. So in recent news, and this has come from the French press, is that he is facing some revolt and some a potential lawsuit, or a lawsuit has been filed, I should say, against the church, in which his self-described conservative congregation, majority of them are professing that he's just, trying to preach critical race theory, essentially saying that, the congregation doesn't recognize that, racism is even a problem anymore. And I mean, certainly from their point of view, they certainly don't see it as a problem, especially if their Bible is telling them otherwise. So, again, another reason why faith blinds reality. And so it's quite interesting that this particular pastor is trying to drive the language that and have his congregation recognize that the Bible alone can't confront or convey the teachings of what is currently racism. So he is proposing or trying to make comprehensive statements of how we can talk about racism, how it can be addressed, utilizing scripture, of course, fairly enough or unfairly, however you want to look at it. But obviously, this is driving a huge wedge in his very conservative congregations, to the point where, as I stated, there is a standing lawsuit filed against the church, and how they not getting into the weeds of the hierarchy or the voting system or the politics of how they, rank and file their group members and are leaders within that church, but wanting to propose that, their pastor basically embracing or trying to, basically embracing the whole pastoral viewpoint of critical race theory, wanting to drive that out, thinking this is unnecessary, and that the Bible alone in itself teaches them everything they need to know, and that racism is not a problem.
Oh no, it's not a problem at all.
It's
And
not.
no, it's over. Everything's fine.
We made
It's not
it.
a problem
We did it, y'all.
if your holy book contains instructions on how to enslave people of different races. No, racism and slavery aren't a problem in that book. No, of course not. You're talking crazy.
But it's so
the Bible is
interesting.
the source of your like it literally contains instructions on how to enslave people who are Jews and people who are not Jews, and then says no, it's not racist.
Yeah, no. And killing
but
people.
Racist is the least of your problems right now.
And killing people from other nations who God said it was okay to kill, including unborn children. So
including unborn children, and take their children as sex slaves too. While you're at it,
yeah, let's do all that.
But only the virgins. The rest of them you can kill.
Yeah, of course. Now
that's cool. Yeah.
So like,
I'm sorry. Moving on.
No, it's okay. I wanted to bring out that, like, when you were talking about like the lawsuit that they filed, Jena, that it all started actually with a letter that was sent to the leadership of McLean Bible Church and the pastor, and it was a letter signed by 5 guys. And we can assume that it was 5 white guys, right? And one of the things that they said in the letter, and I wanted to read this, was, we believe the secular philosophy of affirmative action may have influenced recent decisions regarding the composition of the elder board and the pastoral staff, in pursuit of the secular goal of diversity in meaningless, superficial characteristics like skin shade, rather than strictly adhering to biblical qualifications. Mateo, I'm going to run this over to you because you have stuff to say.
I have so much to say about this. How does
Please
it dare to
Nate's
talk about?
Nate's mouth is twitching.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first, Nate?
No, you go first, Teo. You go first. I can hold it.
We're going to let Nate stoop.
By reading that, you see, how does he dare to ask for equality? Okay, I will start right away with an example that I really want to talk about. I was visiting my family. They were watching a new show. Should I call the show? Just a medical show. There was this Latino kid who was turning all the racism that he was being subject to into stress. So his body started producing tumors on his stomach. It was a very interesting episode. I really like how the doctor in there was talking about the idea of how racism that people don't want to acknowledge, by the way. They want to say, no, there's no racism, and they behave in a racist way without realizing it, and how this child was receiving all of this and turning that into stress, and his body was killing itself or attacking itself. And of course, I had to check if this was actually true or not. And wouldn't you know, please check the description, because there was a study about it. It was actually about Black Americans, and they were talking about how their bodies are going to react differently, or they are going to be more stressed because of the way how they have to live and all the things that they have to live with. And I would like people to check another interesting article, because I found a page where all Black Americans who have been killed by police in quotation mark confusing incidents, there is a huge list of them, and you read the description and it's impossible that this was an accident. This was racism right there, right away. You are living it in their people. We are living it here in LATAM. And it's a shame that people try to hide this. It's happening right in front of your eyes, people, and you want to say, no. If you make me think about this, you want to make me guilty of something that I'm not doing. We have to acknowledge problems. Also, for anyone trying to say, hey, there is a reverse racism. No, if somebody actually good be racist towards you because you are white, that is just racism right away. There is no reverse racism or anything like that. And yeah, I know I want to talk about way more things, but Nate, you deserve your space as well.
Yeah, we don't want Nate to
I don't want to explode.
I don't want to see him explode.
This whole thing, as a Canadian looking in, from how fast critical race theory has went from being a non-issue to being a hot button point. Like, this literally starts with Christopher Rufo going on Fox News last year and lamenting critical race theory being taught in schools. The next day he gets a call from Donald Trump, who was, of course, watching Fox News. 2 days later, Donald Trump issues an executive order banning the teaching of critical race theory, that thing that literally nobody had ever even fucking heard of until this idiot goes on Fox News and laments about it. And now it's just ballooned into the latest hot button moral panic issue for conservatives, right? Like it was the satanic panic, then it was affirmative action, right? Postmodernism, identity politics. It's just anything that poses a threat to white people and power, and they just start clutching their pearls and going crazy. The one thing that I think is different about this is I don't think I've seen this legislated so quickly. Like Iowa and Florida now have bills in place that ban the teaching of critical race theory. Several other states have bills in progress that will likely be passed, and it's the party of small government enacting these bills, banning the teaching of American history and demanding that schools report any teaching of this, right? Like it says in the Florida legislation, schools shall not infringe upon students' First Amendment rights to report what they're being taught. Well, but like First Amendment rights include being taught the truth, right? Like this is free speech. Like teaching what actually happened in the past is not. It should never be off the table, right? Like. And this stuff is not taught in high schools. It's not taught in elementary schools. At the very most, it's taught in advanced, like high school civics classes. It's taught in university law classes.
Right.
Like this has not been an issue until some right-wing idiot brought it to the forefront. And now, because it has the word race in it, every racist south of the Mason-Dixon line has rallied to this cause. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm done for now.
Yeah.
I
No,
got more though.
You're good. Go ahead, Teo, because I know
Yeah,
that you
really
said you had
quickly,
something to
guys,
say.
for all those people saying that racism is not a thing, please go and check what happened with Eileen Cure, who is the president of Cure and Associates, who made a public rant because she only wants to cater to white people and she needed a new employee. And when somebody arrived who was not white, or who was black, she made a rant about people wasting her time if they send her a candidate like that. So yeah, it exists. It's real. It keeps happening, and it's awful.
Yes, it does. I did have a little bit more to say concerning this, but I think that the first article that we led with, summarizes this topic very well. And it says that a disparity exists. We can't deny this. These are not opinions, they are facts. It matters in our country whether one is white or black. Now we don't want it to matter, which is why I think we try to convince ourselves it doesn't matter. We think to ourselves, I don't hold prejudices towards black or white people, so racism is not my problem. But this is where we need to see that racialization is our problem. It's all of our problem, and we subtly, almost unknowingly contribute to it.
Exactly. That's perfect.
Yeah. Period.
Well said.
Yep.
Yeah.
Period.
Well said.
Period.
That's
Period.
it.
Period. And speaking of periods, no, it's not Thursday, y'all. But
Really. Really.
yeah, that happened.
Oh,
That happened.
Cynthia. Oh,
That
Cynthia.
happened.
When are
That
you going to come
happened.
on secular sexuality, Cynthia?
I
need-
was, but
When are
hopefully
you going to
they'll
come
bring-
on with me, to be
Uh,
specific?
you need to talk to the people. But check this out. But if you would like to support the show, you could do so by becoming a nonprofit patron at patreon.com/the-nonprofits. Support the ACA by shopping rather at smile.amazon.com and selecting the Atheist Community of Austin as the beneficiary. If you find yourself already shopping at Amazon, be sure to use that link to help out the ACA, and we appreciate it. And as with all of our shows, like we mentioned before, the links of today's topics and the news we discuss are available in the description below. So feel free to pause this video, read the material for yourself. Don't just take our word for it, but make sure you come back to hear our discussion. And I believe that we are going to round out this particular Dog and Pony show with Strange but True.
Oh.
Strange but true.
Oh, I'm so glad we have time for Russian Jesus. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Well, Jesus was on the main traffic line, and unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to tell him what we wanted. But, Nate, won't you lead us into this particular?
Okay. Switching gears for the end of the show here on a less serious note. In I hate my job, so I'd better start a religion news. L. Ron Hubbard has finally been eclipsed by one Sergei Tolop, a man so arrogant he moved Christmas.
Yes, he did.
ABC News and The Guardian bring us the tale of this displaced traffic cop who thinks that he is Jesus. He do.
Yeah, he do.
He done do think that. He do. I thought this story was clickbait, but then I read it and I'm like, this is for real.
Yes.
And then I'm reading this interview with this joker. He actually got some reporter to follow him to his vegan cabal up in the middle of nowhere in Siberia. And I'm like, all I'm thinking is aren't cult leaders supposed to be charismatic? This reporter's asking him questions like, hey, sir, why do you think people are drawn to your charismatic personality? And he answers like my 13-year-old. He's like, I don't know. Whatever, I guess.
Oh, God. I will say, though, if I may, and of course, viewers, by all means, click on the link of this article so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. He looked more like Jesus than Jesus.
He does.
You do.
He
Gorgeous
he's
older
white
man.
Jesus.
Like I'm just like,
he is white
yes.
Jesus.
He got
Nah,
the hair. I
yeah.
think those are blue eyes, whatever. But I'm like, he looked more like Jesus than Jesus.
Ac-
I would
according
believe it.
according to the paintings that came out in the Middle Ages about Jesus looking like Jesus, he looked like the Jesus.
He looked
I
like that Jesus.
He looked like that Jesus, but he
That
don't go
one.
by Jesus, y'all. He go by Viserion.
Syria.
Mm.
Is that Russian
Yeah.
for Jesus?
The
Something like
new.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
something
I
like
think it was the life or something. It had a meaning, but
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It was something like, Viserion means the life in the world, and when the moon
Right.
was in the
No,
seventh
it's
house,
Russian
and
for purple Kool-Aid.
And his
oh,
evolution is ooh.
I mean, I
oh
like
God.
purple
You went
Kool-Aid,
dark
but
there,
okay.
Nate. Okay, so
Okay, let's go. Let's bring it back all together.
yeah.
Y'all,
So
Okay.
the
but
thing
check
is
this
that
out. Check this out. Check this out. Okay, so first off, how many of you all was like tripping that he had over 5,000 followers?
not surprising,
Mm.
and I think that's
Baffled.
his.
Sadly,
Well,
not surprising.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's if you follow his history, what happened over there, it's kind of. May I take this one because yeah, I like his evolution because he started like, no, I have the voice of God. God talked to me, and then I'm finally Jesus. And I would like to quote from the article because I think this is very important. Because okay, I'm going to quote, then I'm going with my point. The collapse of the Soviet Union, it was a desperate and chaotic time for people, and after a decade of religious oppression, suddenly thousands of new religions and sects burst onto scene. And I would like to call this attention onto all those people who believe, hey, you know what? Because I was one of them for a while. No, religions are harmful, and we as atheists should stop them and make them illegal. No, people, when you make religion illegal, guys like this are going to appear. Oh,
Right.
yes, they are going to persecute us because we are the real followers of the real only God, blah, 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 blah. And as the article says, hundreds of new religions are going to appear because people are going to, you know what happened when drugs become illegal. Every single teenager is going to want to try those drugs because we like things that are forbidden and it's part of our nature. So I
Yeah.
think that for me, the lesson in here is atheists around the world don't believe that banning religion is going to be the solution to all problems caused by religions. That is
Mhm.
going to make it even more harmful, and that's it.
No, you make a
Well,
valid point, Mateo, on that
yeah.
because, this is how, the uprises of cults all across, the world, essentially. This is how it starts when there is oppression on a certain aspect of living within that country, community, city, what have you. There is always going to be a subculture that uprises or not necessarily get themselves accumulated into the then society, but shift themselves on the outside or the borders of society, in which this is where exactly this Russian Jesus has his followers. So it's a unfortunate phenomenon that occurs, and it's the same type of pattern each time consistently, in which the unfortunate I won't say I would say frail minds, easily manipulated minds,
Yeah.
gravitate to this new foundation, this new hope, because at that point in time, as Mateo had mentioned, this occurred during the time where Russia was having that issue within that country. Was like what, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, early 90s.
So ever
Yeah, early
since
90s,
then,
yeah.
yes, ever since then, he has established this cult, moved out way beyond the weeds of some boundaries in Russia,
Mhm.
and has grown and a very unique following. And at best, the article has referenced that there has been a lot of emotional manipulation, luckily, or at least of lack our better knowledge of any physical manipulation, because that's often another prescription of these type of cults. But my trouble, and I'll end it with this, is my trouble is what detriment these followers face when that leader is removed. And I actually think he is currently imprisoned, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So
do.
he was actually arrested, and we have the second article from the Guardian that talked about his arrest. He was specifically charged with organizing an illegal religious organization, alleging that the cult extorted money from followers and subjected them to emotional abuse. And I think it's also important to note that Vissarion, Russian Jesus, had 60 commandments. In most cases, illness is punishment. And he said
60?
60. He has 60. You know, like
He got
originally,
one
like
up
in
on
Genesis.
Christians.
Yeah, he do. By like, about like what, 6
Step
times
up your
more?
game.
Step up your game, Christians. Come on now. But okay, so like in the because like part of the article actually talks about how in most cases he said the illness is punishment for an inability to keep one's flesh in harmony with nature. And so like oftentimes a lot of his parishioners, if they got sick, actually refused medical attention, and that was definitely part of the whole like mental abuse. But I also want to tell y'all, because this is funny, not funny, but no, it's funny, to add insult to injury. When he was arrested with his one of his right hand men named Vadim Redkin, who was a former drummer in a Soviet era boy band. And also, he was arrested with alongside another Vladimir Vedernikov. I know I butchered that. Now, if Vladimir was part of a boy band, the article did not say. I would love for somebody to find out that and then email us.
I feel like there must have been a gram of cocaine involved in that. There must have been. Like, come on.
Oh, well, I he was a drummer in a boy band. Why not? You know what I'm saying? But but it's also important to note that Vissarion preached before he was actually a traffic cop before he turned Jesus. So, do you all think that he had like a coming to Jesus moment, like Paul did on the road to Damascus? Maybe
Well,
he
he claims
had.
he did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
like a call to Jesus on the road to somewhere in Russia. Just saying.
Well, it's like this illumination happens around the fall of the Soviet Union, just like L. Ron Hubbard. Just a few years before he started Scientology, he's like, if you want to make real money, start a religion. And then lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, he's visited by, I don't even know, God Thoros, who wants to rid the world of Thetans or whatever. I don't even know. It's too ridiculous. But the thing, like Jenna was saying, this, I think a lot of people confuse vulnerability for gullibility when it
Mhm.
comes to this. And this is like the problem that I have with atheists that bag on theists. It's not that they're stupid, it's just that they're vulnerable, and a lot of times they're struggling, and a lot of times they're in a tough spot, and a lifeboat full of holes still looks pretty appealing when you're drowning in the ocean.
That's right.
No, that's
Yeah.
fairly stated. Looking
Yeah.
at the history of when he started this cult, obviously he himself was vulnerable to the surroundings, the change in his country. So it behooves you to kind of think deeper. And okay, we see how his followers have gravitated him because of his, lack there better of charisma. But how vulnerable was he in a state that, with all of this happening, drove him to pursue what he is currently pursue now? And then this kind of leads me and dials back into a conversation we had late June on this very topic about cults, when myself and other hosts discussed the Moonies, the same kind of cult following that's growing in the state of Texas in this compound. The same type of, consistency you see as far as building up a cult and enlarging their following is that the vulnerability is there, the hope and grasping onto that hope, the feeling of having a purpose is there. And so you become so attached and so involved and so deep in it that it's hard to see yourself withdraw from it.
Yeah, that part. And I think that that's what is coming to this particular story, about how now the followers have to have like a really truth moment, because the person that they were with is now gone. So, and their secondhand person and their third hand person is gone too. So it would be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. Well,
Yeah,
people, we talked about some stuff today. So we talked about how white evangelicals are still loud and wrong about vaccines, masks, COVID-19, and just about everything else. We also learned about breakthrough infections are definitely real, but those who are unvaccinated are feeling the adverse effects of COVID infections worse. We also discussed how people still want to denote standing against racism as what those woke secular people do, but we know racism is real and it should be fought against. And we learned that Jesus is no longer stopping traffic, but serving time instead. Yeah. So, everybody, how we feeling as we just wrapping up everything? Oh, one of the things that I wanted to tell the people that we do value your feedback. So please tell us what you like and what you don't like in the comments below, or you can email us at nonprofits@atheist.community.org. So we're going to do like a quick rap. Who wants a quick rap? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. One more time. Nonprofits at atheist-community.org. Thank you, crew, for
cool.
keeping me on point. So what? We're going to wrap. Nate.
5,300 children, unmarked graves in residential schools in Canada, up by a count of almost 4,000 since I was on about a month ago. We are up over 5,000 now.
We
Ouch.
knew, and we actually predicted that.
We
did.
talked about that. Yeah,
We did.
that number is only going to grow.
It's only going to grow. Jana, what you got, honey?
Medical professionals that are anti-vaxxers, get out the way. Let the true heroes of this pandemic serve the people so we can get out from under this.
Indeed. And Teo, what you got?
Oh, well, personal thing. I have been talking about cults before, so I should know this. But after what Nate said, I will stop saying that people who fall for cults are naive, and I will start using vulnerable. Vulnerability is the key word. So thank you. I learned something new today, and I'm glad I did.
That's what this is all about. This is why we do this, because we learned something new today. And you know what, audience? I hope that you learned something new today, and make sure that you continuously tune in with us. So thank you for watching yet another episode rather, of the Nonprofits. And bye-bye.
See you.
Watch The Atheist Experience live Sundays at 4:30 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTAXP and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callaxp.